So today we are going to a few things that I'll be covering is a very basic understanding of what coffee is. What are the two main varieties of coffee, which are Robusta and Arabica, which is very well known in India. There's a third one as well, but which is called Liberica. I didn't want to cover it as there's not much literature or research done on it currently. Uh, I am also learning more about it, and at a given stage, when I'm confident enough to share that data with you, we'll be doing it across our social media channels, which is on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. I'll also be covering certain processing methods which are washed, sort of how it looks. We'll go more into detail about this. Uh, a pulp sun-dried, also a lot of people call it a honey sun-dried as well, and a natural coffee. And we've been able to acquire some different roast levels of coffee, which we'll be getting into detail with. I am using the same green beans in a roasted form as well, which is available as a light, medium, and dark roast. And I'll be brewing it with some new coffee gear that we've just introduced. One being the Trinity Zero, uh, sort of looks like this, very compact. Um, Next one being the Espro Blue. It's a flat bottom pour over. We'll understand how the coffee is tasting in this as well. And the next one is a Delta press. It might look a lot like AeroPress, but you'll be very surprised of the brewing mechanism that is used in this. For me to be able to brew all this coffee gear, I'll be using certain elements which are very important in brewing a great cup. And since I've been doing this for quite a few years, I've been very particular about how I am brewing my coffee. So I'll be using a scale. It's by this brand called Varia. It gives you a basic understanding of how to tear your coffee if you want to weigh something in a gram, ounce, or a ml format. And it also has a timer in it. I am using the EKG Stack Kettle by Fellow. I can manipulate the temperature on it, use the hold format as well. I'll go into more detail about that. And I'm using the water, which I've diluted some third wave water in it. These are basically mineral supplements. They sort of look like this. I can add this packet to say 3.5 liters of water. So I just store it in a bigger can and then use it on a daily basis if I wish to brew my coffee. So I think we can dive right into it now. Uh, I'm sure every one of you might have read about the history of coffee or how it came into being, and a basic understanding of what's in your final cup. So I just wanted to discuss that with you briefly before diving right into brewing. So history of coffee actually started with Ethiopia before it got into Yemen, and coming to India, it was the Sufi saint Baba Budan who was traveling to Yemen for his learnings, and he stole around 7 to 8 beans. Now, if you Google history of coffee, you will read at least 1,500 different stories of, there was not 7 beans, there were 8 beans. He hid it in his belly, he hid it in his beard, he just carried it in a stick. No one really knows the apt story of it, but the standard globally, what the standard has been talked about or discussed about across formats is that there was a Sufi saint, Baba Buddha. He was traveling for his teachings to Yemen, and that's when he came across coffee as a beverage, where it was exploding at the time because it wasn't available anywhere else. Yemen was very strict about coffee export. They either used to boil your green beans so that you cannot cultivate it anywhere else, or they used to send the coffee in a roasted format for you to consume it. So this humble beverage has had quite a journey before getting into your final cup that we have and enjoy today. And we've been very particular about the different kinds of roast, the different kinds of brewers. So he stole those 7 beans. He came to Chikmagalur and planted them. And today, Chikmagalur is one of the biggest exporters of coffee from India. And to pay homage to the Sufi saint Baba Budan, we have very aptly named one of the mountain regions in Chikmagalur, which is known by the name of Baba Budan Giri. So you will find a lot of coffee estates that you read on your packet, which are based out of them. In India, there is also Araku, which is doing great coffee in Andhra. There's some coffee which is also growing in the northeast regions nowadays, and Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Chikmagalur are one of the highest producing coffee regions and also exporters of coffee. Now, due to the introduction of third wave of coffee in India, we've been able to come across something that was lying right in our background, that is specialty coffee and introduction to coffee in general. Us being a tea brewing nation, we've all definitely gone like grew up drinking tea only. I myself was drinking cutting chai for more than half of my life. I came across coffee very early in 2015 or 16, and I've fallen in love with it. Uh, I enjoy my indulgent tea as well, but coffee has my heart. And I'm sure whoever is attending for them also, it's sort of the same. So, due to this boost of specialty coffee, a lot of people have now started experimenting with their beans. You hear about these fermenting methods that these coffees are going through. You might have heard about barrel aging their coffees, and a lot of experiments that are going on farm level. But we are just going to understand the basics before we dive into something a little more complex, and the cup that you enjoy on a daily basis, what really goes on behind the scenes before it gets to you. So, starting with coffee is a cherry. Uh, it's a fruit bearing plant basically. Indian harvest generally starts from November to mid Feb, not more than that, and then there is post processing. So, it's a plant which first flowers, then it will give you green cherries, which will turn into either yellow or red depending on the strain of the coffee. Mostly in if you check in India, there are very specific estates who are able to do the yellow cherries, and there is very little research about yellow cherries in India, but it's going up. Where people are investing a lot in the education about that particular cherry, but mostly what you might have come across as literature is the red cherry. So what happens is, on the farm level, there are people who will pluck those cherries out for you. The first stage that you will see is plucking and garbling. That is basically just hand picking whatever you see is not up to the quality of that particular estate. Then it will go to post processing. So first, to understand what those cherries are two basic strains of coffee. That is, one is Robusta, sort of look like this. It might all be looking the same to you. I'll just take some in my hand and show you. And the next one is Arabica. Now, there's a lot of noise out there about it being a superior coffee or it being a better coffee, and how Robusta is not that great of a coffee. I don't agree to it. I enjoy my indulgence in Robusta as well. For me, there is no such thing as bad coffee. Every coffee is brewed properly, if enjoyed in the moment, is great. And if you're able to brew properly, if you're able to create blends properly, there is it shouldn't matter to you if it's a Robusta or Arabica in the first place. But a basic fact about Arabica is, if you see the strain, it's slightly rounder in form. I'll compare them side by side. It's slightly rounder in form. It's smaller than your Arabica. Arabica is more oval in shape, and it's slightly more denser in my hand as I feel it as well. That's due to it having a higher moisture content than Robusta. It's more fruitier, but Robusta has this thing where the name, as it suggests, Robusta, it's very robust on your palate, but it's great for someone who enjoys a little more heavy bodied or likes a little more sweetness in their cup, to be honest. I personally enjoy Robustas in my espresso as well. One of my favorite blends currently is a 80 Arabica and a 20 Robusta by Beanro. uh, I think it really brings in a lot of complexity in your cup, and there's a really good bittersweet finish to your end espresso, which is sort of a standard when it comes to it. So Arabica, basic differences are it grows on a higher elevation than a Robusta. It's more prone to diseases when it comes to coffee plantation, and slightly more difficult to grow as well, given the elevation and it being very easy to, not very easy to cultivate. Robusta grows at a lower elevation, has less complexities than Arabica, but it really depends on what you want out of your coffee. There's no such thing. I can't stress enough on the fact that there's really no thing as bad coffee. It's either a bad barista or bad brewing, or you not being able to understand your coffee in general, whatever information the estate has been able to provide you. But the green beans are the last thing to bloom. And when I say robustas are easy to grow, this is me, a layman, saying it. On farm level, honestly, everything is a hard work. But if compared to Arabica, it's slightly more easier given that it's more accessible. uh, Post this harvest and processing, we decide what different processing method the coffees will go through. Now, I'm sure you've read on the bag that, if there is coffee bag A which says this is a washed coffee, or it's a pulse and dried coffee, or it's a natural coffee, it basically means the green beans have gone through different processing methods to bring out the nuances from the origin and what are the desirable complexities the estate wants to bring out from that particular coffee. Am I going too fast? You could let me know, or if you want me to slow down a little bit. The first coffee, depending on if it's Arabica or a Robusta, the estate will take a call on what they want that particular coffee to go through when it comes to processing. Now, the first one that we will cover is a washed coffee. First one is a washed coffee. In this, what happens is the coffee cherries are picked, it's put in a depulper, and they get rid of the outer cherry cover, they get rid of the pulp, and it's kept in a water fermentation tank. Uh, you might have read about it being 24 hours, but it varies farm to farm. It could be 8 hours, it could be 16 hours, it could be 24 hours, or it could be more than that, depending on the standard practices of that particular farm and the time available for that particular processing. And one of the most important aspects, that is what is best for that particular coffee. So your cherries are picked, you get rid of the outer cover, you get rid of the pulp by putting it in a fermentation tank, and then it is dried out. So the green beans are really not in contact that much with your fruit layer of the cherry, and you will get nuance when you post roasting. You get these nuances like uh, chocolate or very nutty tasting coffees, or a lot of spices as well sometimes. uh, Processing is one of the major aspects in bringing out the final flavor in your cup. Next one is a pulse and dried coffee. It's slightly yellowish in color than your washed. If I compare it side by side, on my right there is washed coffee, on my left there is pulse and dried. So in pulse and dried, they only get rid of the outer cover, like that is the red cover, which can further be used to dry it out and make cascara tea out of it. And they dry it with the pulp on patio beds. So what I have is a yellow honey, or pulse under it, also known as honey coffee because of the color it takes while drying. So this one is a yellow honey. It also depends on how much you're drying it. That's the color it will take. So the first stage is yellowing. If you dry it further with the pulp, it will become red, and then eventually black honey as well. So how much you're drying it will also affect the final flavor of your cup. Your yellow honeys tend to be very slight fruity, like you'll have acidity of bananas, you'll have acidity of apples. If you go a little further, like a red honeys tend to taste a lot like berries. And if you go black honey, then you will get a lot of viney, fermenty notes as well. It really depends on what you enjoy and what that farm is able to do at that particular stage. And the most important, what is best for that particular coffee. Next one that we have is a natural coffee. You can see it's the yellowest of all. This is due to the coffee cherries being picked and directly put to dry. There is no depulping of the coffee cherries. There is no fermenting of in a water tank. Nothing. They just directly put the coffee cherries. The first garbling happens where they're initially whatever they're able to see by eye and remove it. They're removing it. and they're directly putting it across on Indian raised beds. And this coffee is being raked on a usual basis, just to make sure that there is no moisture which is holding on and it's evenly drying, so that there is no formation of mildew or fungus or anything. And post the coffee cherry has totally dried out, they put it through a huller to take out the green beans inside of it. So I'll cover the natural part again. So they just directly pick the coffee cherries, they put it out to dry. The coffee is evenly raked to make sure that it's drying out uniformly, and to make sure that there's no formation of mildew and fungus. In my opinion, a lot of amenities which are available on the farm also matters. Like if your farm is based in a place where there's not a lot of water, you will tend not to do a wash coffee, because it takes up a lot of water in its processing. Uh, if you want to bring out complexity, if you want to bring out different nuances or more fruitier notes in your coffee, you tend to go with PSC. And natural is basically actually one of the most toughest to process as well. So you really want someone on your farm who understands coffee in detail, or understands their coffee in detail. So before you purchase a pack, you should really understand that what is it that you enjoy in your final cup. Do you enjoy nutty, fruity, chocolatey notes? Do you enjoy a really good juicy fruity cup? Or do you want something that's a little more complex, that can give you different nuances depending on the roast level? If you want to learn more, if you want to find out more on coffee, there's a lot of content that we've been putting out on YouTube, from our last session, even on this one. And there's a lot of behind the scenes that happens in our offices as well that we tend to put out. So you could definitely follow us on Instagram for more news on coffee, more trivia on coffee, more education on coffee. We have our YouTube page, which is youtube.com slash something's brewing. There are very interesting guides that we've put out on our website on somethingsbrewing.in. Just go on our website, check under guides. We have something for someone who's trying to understand the nuances of brewing a good cup at home, and also general coffee information, a coffee guide. It's free for download. So I really hope you guys check it out, because it's really good information that will definitely help you in brewing a good cup at home. Thank you so much for attending our session. Do drop us recommendations on what you guys want to learn more. If you want more of these sessions, if you guys want to co-host a session with us as well, suggestions on topics, suggestions on brewer we should brew with, suggestions on coffees that you want us to try out, give you recommendations. And also, please feel free to send in your recipes as well. We'll be more than happy to try out during these sessions. Thank you so much once again.